Lesson 6-1, rounding fractions and mixed numbers. And in this lesson, you learn to round fractions and mixed numbers. When are you ever going to use this? Knowing how to round fractions and mixed numbers can help you order enough food for a party. So Sophia is making a skirt to wear in her class play. The pattern for the skirt calls for 2 and 7/8 yards of fabric. She rounds the amount of fabric needed to the nearest whole number because she can use the extra material to make a matching headband. Okay, so to round fractions and mixed numbers to the nearest unit, you can use the following guidelines. A number line can help you decide how to round, and this number line will help us right here. 0, 1/2, and 1. This number line we will be using to round our fractions and mixed numbers. So in this number line, you see that 3/16, okay, 3/16 will be in this part of the number line. 3/5 will be a little bit more than 1/2, and 7/8 will be a little bit more than 1/2 as well. Okay, so it's saying that if the numerator is almost as large as the denominator, round the number to the nearest whole number. So in this case, 7/8 rounds to 1 because 7 is almost as large as 8. Okay, another rule of thumb for rounding is that if the numerator is about half the denominator, round the fraction to 1/2. So if you look at 3/5, it's uh, close to 1/2, so it rounds to 1/2. Okay, and finally, if the numerator is much smaller than the denominator, round the number down to the next whole number. So 2 and 3/16 basically rounds to 2 because 3/16 rounds to 0. Another way of looking at this is this. Okay, you can have the same number line, and if you want to find out where 3/16 rounds to, then write an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 16. Okay, that is also 0. So in this case, you'll get 0/16. That'll be equivalent to 0 as well. And in this case, you find out what's half of 16. That would be 8. 8/16 would be 1/2 as well. And logically, 16/16 would be your 1. Okay. Now this is easier to find out where 3 is closest to, because now you have to compare only the 0, the 3, and the 8. And if you notice, 3 is closer to 0 than it is to 8, so therefore it rounds to 0. Okay, and that's the reason why 2 and 3/16 rounds to 2, because 2 plus 0 is approximately, well, is not approximately, but it is equal to 2. Okay, so when 3/16 rounds to 0, you simply add 2 plus 0. That'll give you 2. Okay, let's take a look at example number 1 and let's apply what we've learned. Okay, we want to round 3 and 4/5 to the nearest half. When they say round to the nearest half, you either have to round to 0, 1/2, or 1. That's what it means when it says round to the nearest half. 0, 1/2, or 1. Okay, so let's just take a look at 4/5, okay, and see where it lands. And 3 and 4/5 and see where it lands, and let's create our number line. Okay, number line is right about here, there you go. Okay, and if you notice, this is 3, 3 and 1/2, and this is 4. Okay, and 4/5 is closer to 4 than 1/2. Therefore 3/5 rounds to 1. Oh, sorry, 4/5 rounds to 1. I'm sorry, and that means you need to add 3 plus 1, and that will round to 4. Okay, another way of looking at this. Okay, show you another one. Let's not count 3 anymore, and let's just look at 4/5. Okay, so if we make a number line, such as this one. Let's make our number line right here. Okay, and then we create our numbers. And we're using only 4/5. We're trying to round 4/5 to the nearest half, so we don't have to deal with the 3. So we have 0 here, and we have 1/2 here, and we have 1 here. Okay, and we want to find an equivalent fraction of 0, which has a denominator of 5, and that would be 0 over 5. Okay, an equivalent fraction of 1/2 with a denominator of 5, that would be 2.5 or 2.5. Okay, over 5. And finally, an equivalent fraction of 1 denominator of 5 would be 5 over 5. And you simply look at the number, your numerator, which is in this case 4. Okay, so we want to find out where 4 is located, and we know that 4/5 is closer to 5 over 5 than it is to 2.5. So therefore 4/5, okay, rounds to 1. And that's the reason why it becomes 4, because now you're going to add 1 to 3, and that's how you round to 4. Okay, let's take a look at example number 2. Round 3/8 to the nearest half. Again, we go back to our number line. Okay, and on our number line we have 0, 1/2, and 1. And let's write equivalent fractions with the denominator of 8. This would be 0 over 8. This would be 4 over 8. And this would be 8 over 8. And if you notice, 3 is closer to 4 than it is to 0. Therefore, 3/8 rounds to 1/2. Okay? Let's take a look at example number 3. The measurement. Find the length of the line segment to the nearest 1/2 of an inch. That means, again, you need to round to either 0, 1/2, or 1. And if you look at the measurement of A falls somewhere. Let me get that line again. Measurement of A falls, I'm going to get that and change the color so we won't mix it up right here. So there is our line. It's right around this area right there. Okay, and if we look at that area, let me move that so we can see the number right there. Okay, and it says to find the segment to the nearest 1/2 of an inch. And let's look at our ruler here. This is 2 inches. Okay, and this is 2.5 inches right here. Okay, and if you notice, this measurement is closer to 2.5 than it is closer to 3. Therefore, if we round this to the nearest 1/2 of an inch, okay, so to the nearest 1/2 of an inch, the length of the line segment would be around 2.5 inches. Okay, so it's even though it's the measurement is not exactly 2.5, the direction is saying find the length of the line segment to the nearest 1/2 of an inch. So the only 3 measurements that they're looking for is either 2, 2.5, or 3. Okay, and that's how you do example number 3. Let's do the next one. As shown in the following example, you should round a number down when it is better for a measure to be too small than too large. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Suppose you are camping and you only have 1 cup of water left to use for cooking. You think the recipe for a pancake mix needs 2/3 cup of water. Should you round down to 1/2 cup or round up to 1 cup? Okay, a lot of the answer for this particular example will depend on how well you think logically. Okay, now notice in cooking, what's going to happen if you don't have enough water in your pancake mix? Okay, and what's going to happen if you have more than what you need for your pancake mix. Okay, so to avoid making the mix too thin, okay, you should round down to 1/2 cup of water. You can always add more, and this is where the logic comes in. Okay, you can add 1/2 of a cup, and then if you need more water, then you can add more water if you need it. Okay, the problem is if you add, let's say if you round up and you add a cup of water, you cannot take out water anymore once it is in the mixture. Okay, so a lot of that answer, okay, came from basic logic. And also sometimes it is necessary to round a number up despite of what the rule says. Again, going back to our logic, let's take a look at this example. Anne is being fitted for a tuxedo to wear in his sister's wedding. His neck measured 14 and 3/4 inches around. Shirt collars are measured in half-inch increments. What size shirt should Anne order? So again, think about this logically. If uh, uh, if you look at what size to be able to order, okay, if N rounds down, okay, his shirt collar will be too tight, okay. So that means N should round up and order a shirt with a 15-inch collar, because once it's too tight, okay, that collar won't be able to close, and there goes your tie. Okay, so if you round up, that collar will still close. It might be a little bit big, but it'll still do its job. So in this case, this particular example, you need to round up. Okay, so you need to think of the situation before you consider rounding up or rounding down. Okay, and that's the end of our lesson. Thanks for watching.